Hi everyone, and thanks for joining. It's Amit from Unlimited Elements. Today we're in a live webinar where we're going to create this code pen that toggles this side menu over here into an Elementor widget that is editable and dynamic and is fed by your WordPress menu. So first of all, I got some HTML, CSS, JS. It's pretty simple. It's just toggling a div over here, hiding and showing it. You can also close it from here. This menu has a title and some menu items. So our challenge today is how do we create this into a Elementor widget and make everything needs to be editable. All the colors, all the borders, all the border radius. So it's going to be 1 hour and we're going to dig in. So I'm going to jump into my WordPress website. Over here, I have Unlimited Elements Pro version installed, of course. And I'm going to jump into the menu widgets. And over here, I'm going to add a new widget. I'm going to add a new widget over here. I'm going to call it side menu and click add widget. My widget has been added over here. I'm going to double click to start editing the widget. Let's jump into the HTML tab. And over here, I'm just going to copy my HTML and paste that inside from my code pen. Inside of the CSS tab, I'm going to copy the CSS and paste that into the CSS tab. And in the JavaScript tab, I'm going to copy my JavaScript and paste that inside. So that's the first step, pretty simple. Let's jump into the JS CSS includes. Over here, what I want to do is include jQuery and include font awesome. Great, so we got everything set up. Now the first thing I'm going to do is actually just add this to a page and see if it works. Maybe I missed something and I need to test this first. So I'm going to click add new page. I'm going to call my page side menu just so I can test this out. So let's call it side menu, edit with Elementor, and let's see what we get. Let's give this page a couple of seconds to load. And over here in the widgets pane, I'm going to search for the word side menu and I'm going to drag this inside. Awesome, so here it is. Let's click on that. And I see that currently and now it's getting hidden. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to change the position from absolute to fixed, and let's see what that does. So let's jump back here into the widget, and over here in the CSS tab, I'm going to change the position over here from position absolute to position fixed, which actually makes more sense. I hope that will work out. Let's see if maybe we need a Z index over here. So let's add a Z index as well. Let's give that a value of 5, update, back to Elementor. Make sure you're updated over here and refresh. And there we go, looking good. So that's the first step. I see we need maybe a larger Z index over here, but everything seems to be working nicely. So next step, I just need to see how I can make this all the way high over here. So we'll do that at the end actually. Let's just jump in and get started. So great, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change all these static IDs into a dynamic ID. So I'm gonna select the ID over here, click UCID, copy the UCID, and I need to go all over the widget and replace my static ID into the dynamic ID. Now, the reason we use dynamic IDs is maybe there can be more than one of these on the page. We don't want any conflicts. We want this to work with a ID. So that's how we do it. Looking good. Looking good. And we need to go all the way down. I think we're at the end. Awesome. don't forget the JavaScript as well. So wherever we have an ID selector, we're going to replace that. And awesome. Click update to save. And back into Elementor, I'm going to check that everything is working as expected. A lot of people ask me, how can I put more than one widget on the page without them having conflicts? So that's the exact way. So let's jump back into the CSS over here. And now I want to see if I can make this maybe higher some way. So position relative, maybe we'll give this height 100 VH, which is viewport height. And I'll give this div as well, 100%. I think we're set to go. Let's also give this a bigger Z index since I see it's still behind the Elementor controls. It doesn't really matter because this is just a backend, but still would be nicer to see it in front of the controls. Refreshing the page. Let's give the page a couple of seconds to load. And it's still behind, but at least we're getting full height over here and we can close that. Perfect. So let's get on with our widget. And the next part, what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to replace the menu over here, the UL menu with it, which is actually a list with a dynamic HTML menu, WordPress menu. So over here in attributes, I'm going to click add attribute. Going to select a menu attribute and I'm going to give that a title. So I'm going to call it menu and click add attribute. Jump back into the HTML and now I'm going to replace the UL with my menu. Click update to save, back to Elementor, going to refresh the page and now we're going to check this out. So let's see that it's loading our real menu. Look how awesome that is. So right now it's loading the real WordPress menu and you can select which menu you want and you can also select how many depth you want over here. So for example, if you just want only one level over here, you can do that as well. So click update to save. Later on we'll check it with 2 levels, but let's leave it at 1 level right now. And next part, let's start going over the parts and adding fields and styling all the parts. So jumping back over here, let's first of all do the title. So we're going to add a new attribute. I'm going to call it menu title. So text field, I'm going to call it menu title. And over here, let's call this main, or let's call this main menu. And that's it. So main menu. And inside of the HTML, I'm going to jump inside and replace the static with a field. So right now, just so you see what this does, is you can actually, now you can input whatever text you want over here. So I'm going to toggle it and you can see you have a new field. And if you would want to change this to a different menu, like a social menu, or something like that. Now, when you toggle it, you can see the text has changed. Next part, let's make fields for the toggle and for the closing the menu. So maybe let's add a different section over here. So I'm going to add a new section. I'm going to call it icons. Inside of icons, I'm going to add a new attribute. I'm going to give this an attribute, which is icon library. Going to call it toggle icon. And over here, we need to give it the default value. So the default value I'm going to take from the HTML. And this is actually the class that we need. So I'm going to take this class, going to replace it with the toggle icon attribute that I've created. And over here in attributes, going to go into toggle icon and put the class name of that icon. Let's check that everything's working. Jump over here, refresh. Maybe we want to save first, just so we don't get lost over here. Refresh. And now when we click, we're supposed to have a new section and we can replace this icon over here. Not sure why you would want to replace it, but still we're giving the option to do that. So awesome, it's working. Let's bring back the bars icon, which is actually looks like a hamburger menu, and jump back into the editor. So over here, we're going to add a new icon. We're going to call it close icon and give that a default value. So we need to get the default value from the HTML again. So I'm copying it from here, changing it with the attribute. So it's close icon, back into attributes, and I'm going to paste my class name over here. So great, everything is set up. Let's start adding some styling options. So first of all, the styling options will be for the toggle icon. So actually, just so you see, I'm adding it over here, down here in the style part. So toggle icon. And first of all, we would like to get the class of this. So let's jump into the CSS. And over here, here it is. So it's open side menu. So we're going to move as many parts over here to be dynamic and attribute fields. So the first one is going to be for size. So let's delete the size from here. Make sure that you've copied your open side menu class. And I'm going to add over here, toggle size. In CSS selector, I'm going to add my class as it was in the HTML. And over here, we want this to affect the width and the height. So I've duplicated the width and I'm going to change this to height. And in default value, let's give this a default value of 60 pixels, minimum value of 30, maximum value 100 looks good. And let's give this responsive controls so people can adjust this depending on the screen resolution. And the next thing is going to be to check this out. So let's jump back in, refresh. And I'm sorry that it's a bit annoying that I'm refreshing all the time. I'll do a couple of attributes the next time just so you don't need to wait. Now you can see that we have the style over here and I can push this up and down and we can change this icon to whatever we want. So let's add all of the different things that we want over here. So I think it's actually just background color and font size for the icon size. So we can do inner icon size. Let's duplicate this. I'm going to call it toggle inner icon size. Let's delete the name, click tab over here so it populates again. And the default is going to be 21 pixels. The minimum value can be 10. And this is looking good. Just it's not going to change the width and the height. It's going to change actually the font size. Looking good. Update attribute. Click to save. And let's jump into the CSS again. Take this off so it doesn't conflict. And over here, we're going to take off the background color as well. Let's copy the value from here again. And let's go for background, toggle background color. In the CSS selector, actually in the attribute type, we need to choose color picker. CSS selector is the same selector. Let's give this a default value of some kind of gray. And over here, we're going to add background color and the value. You have an example over here as well, and click add attribute. So now we have a selector to change the background color. I'm going to duplicate this one and we're going to call it toggle background color on hover. Again, delete this and populate it again. Let's add double dot hover. And great, let's give this a different color. Awesome. Update to save. Next thing, we want to affect the icon color that's inside. So I'm going to duplicate this, move it down using drag and drop, And right now, we're not changing the toggle background, we're changing the toggle icon color. Toggle icon color, populate this. And instead of changing the background color, we're changing the color. Let's make this a default black and duplicate this again. And we're going to make this affect the toggle icon on hover. Populate the field again. And I'm going to give this a default color of white. And we need to add hover state. Awesome. Let's just add one more thing, which is border radius, and maybe border also for this. So add another one. We're going to use slider for border radius. So toggle border radius and paste the class. What this affects is the border radius, which is awesome. Default value will be 0 since we don't want it to be rounded by default. And that's about it. So awesome. And let's add a border field as well. So border attribute type, toggle border, we'll call that. And we can give default values. I don't want a default border, just paste in the CSS selector. Click update to save, jump back in and refresh the page. Don't forget to save before you refresh, of course. Let's see how this looks. By the way, if you're watching, please, if you want, you can share this in all the Elementor groups, just so we get some more visitors and more people can take advantage of this, and it will really help us out. So let's jump into style. And now you can see we have all the different styling options that we've added. So let's test them one by one. Outer icon, inside icon not working. We need to check out why it's not working. Toggle background is working. Toggle background hover is working. And I think these two are working as well. Icon on hover, great. Border radius is working. So the only thing that's not working is a toggle inner icon size. Let's see if we can check out why this isn't working. So let's go over here, inner size. I see this is okay. Let's just check that inside of the CSS, we took off what we needed. So I see there isn't any font size over here. I'm not sure why this is overridden. Let's go back over here. Maybe we'll make this selector even more specific. Let's add maybe an I tag over here. Font size, looking good. Update attributes. Now, if this still won't work, I'll try to use the Chrome inspector to see what's going on. Maybe this is getting some CSS. Oh, I see over here it's working. So this is a cache issue. Now, this sometimes happens. You can clear cache inside of Elementor. You see it's not really working right now, but this was sort of some kind of cache issue. And you can see over here in the front end, it is working. So we're going to leave that right now that way. Not going to touch this. Let's just push it down so it won't be so big. Make sure that it does change over here. I don't know, there is some kind of cache issue with this. So we'll check that out later. So this is looking pretty awesome. And I think we can continue to the different menu parts. Oh, let's just shake the solid color over here. Oh, good, this looks good. So you can play around with the border, make that look however you want. And of course, change its color if you need to. So pretty awesome. I just think the transition here is kind of harsh. So maybe I would go into the CSS and change the transition. So just add over here transition 1S. Perfect. So we've got everything going pretty good. I think the next part that I'm thinking of doing is actually, let's say, the menu width, for example. So maybe let's give this a general setting. So general setting, let's put this above the toggle icon. Let's go back into the CSS. And first of all, I'm going to copy the class over here and take off the width over here. So over here inside of attributes, I'm going to add a new attribute inside of general, going to call it menu width. And let's just give this default value of 300, which I think makes sense. Let's give an option to toggle between pixels and percent, because maybe on mobile, you're going to want it to overlay the whole mobile screen. So it will be 100% width. And I hope that will work. And over here in minimum value, let's give this 100, maximum value 1000. And looking good. Responsive controls, give that a CSS selector that we've copied from the HTML. And what this affects is the width. Now, the thing is over here in the CSS, so I think we've taken it off from here, but we need to add it as well in the active mode. So I'm just going to copy this as well and take this off from here. Actually, we can take off everything. Inside of attributes, I'm just going to add another class name over here. Since the width needs to be in two places, that's just the way I made this work. Not sure it's the best way, but that's the way, the best way that I've found. So I'm going back over here. Let's save this and refresh. And check out what's going on. So let's open our menu. Now it doesn't open at all. Let's jump into style. Play around with the width. So we need to figure out why this is not working now. Interesting. So let's jump into, oh, I think I know it's not working. So let's jump back into CSS. I want to try to bring back what was here before. And instead of using this as a class selector, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to paste this in as a value. So that's what we need to do over here is actually go back into the CSS. And over here, I'm going to paste in the value. So the value is down here, menu width. The bad thing about this is that the way that works now, I will need to make breakpoints for it to work on responsive mode. So it's a bit annoying. And I'm not sure from where I took off the width. Let's check out over here from the code pen itself. Okay, that was in side menu items. Let's add this back into side menu items. And hopefully we're good to go. Oh, and maybe let's change the Z index here also to 1000. If we're already over here, refresh. Save before refresh. And let's check this out. Hopefully it's gonna work. Please, please, please. It's not working. Oh, it is. Awesome. So the only downside about this is that it's actually each time that you're going to change this, I think it's not sure why it's not changing automatically. Maybe let's change this into a number field. So let's go over here, change this into a number field. And default value 300. Downside over here is that we only have pixels. We can't. Oh, let's maybe, not sure. Let's change, let's make this 300. And oh, it does have responsive controls, which is good. And that's it. Update. Let's go back. Okay, we need to change. In the CSS, I need to add pixels because it's not going to add them anymore. And jump back inside. Let's see if this works better. Pray to God. Sometimes praying helps, you know, guys. So here we go. Page is loaded. Okay, I see my prayers have not been heard. Okay, we don't have a default value. Awesome. 500. Awesome. So this is working now. Let's just see that we have a default value. See, it does have a default value. I'm not sure why that didn't go inside, but okay. Let's save this. Need to think about that. So this is looking pretty good. And the next thing, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add some settings for the title over here. So let's jump into CSS, find the title over here. Where is the title? Where is the title? Where is the title? Here it is. And these are the settings that we want to change. So copy the class. First of all, we're going to add a style section that's going to be called menu title. And I'm going to push this up. First setting is going to be for padding. So we're going to add a padding attribute, menu title padding. Interesting. And let's give this responsive controls. In the default value, we're going to change to 20 pixels. Makes sense. And paste in the CSS selector. Let's see what else we have in the CSS. So this we can take off. Next thing is going to be for menu title background. So color picker, menu title background color maybe. And let's give this a default value, paste in the CSS selector, and give that a value. Awesome. Let's check that it's working, or we didn't do enough to check. I'm not sure. So let's see. I think it's looking good. Oh, I didn't refresh, or yeah, I did refresh. Menu title, not working. Padding is working. So let me show you why I think it's not working, because I didn't take that off from the CSS. Where were we? Menu title, here we go. Needed to take that off from the CSS. We'll check it out in a sec. Let's add a new one. So menu title text color. And this can be white. We can paste in the class. And instead of changing the background color, we're going to change the color. Looking good. CSS, let's delete this. And let's give an option also for the border, because maybe someone will want only maybe a border bottom for here or something like that. So you want to give all the options. So menu title border. And actually over here, we can give a default value. That will be interesting. So border color, let's make this over here. Let's choose solid. And we're going to go for 0, 0, 2 pixels, and 0. Just so we can have something by default and people can play around with that. If the user will want, he can change it to no or something like that. So refresh. And let's see what we have. I'm going to click over here. Oh, look how nice that is. The border does help, right? Yeah, I do like that kind of effect. And let's play around with the padding a little bit. I'm going to see if that works. So yeah, you can play around with the padding. Looking good. Background color. Oh, I forgot to add typography. Good. So everything is working pretty nicely. See my border over here. And what I'm going to do is add a typography setting. So add attribute. Let's go for typography. Attribute. Title, I'm going to give this menu title typography. Awesome. And the CSS selector. Look how easy that is. I mean, just takes a couple of seconds. I think typography needs to be first. So just put that first. And now, you know, the user can just play around with this and he can do whatever he wants. Now you guys are probably asking yourself, what if the user does not want a title at all? So that's going to be the next step. Look how nice that is. So style, menu title, and he can play around with the settings over here. Let's toggle this to be open. And you can see how that works. Okay, pretty simple. Nothing fancy over here. So next step. Let's make a toggle for turning off the title and turning it on. So back into content, because this is not a styling option. This is a content option to show or not show. So I'm going to click add attribute, and over here, choose radio boolean. And inside the radio boolean, I'm going to ask show title. Do you want to show the title? And it's going to be yes or no. Default is yes. So jumping back into the HTML, and not many know, but we have a hidden button over here to show code examples. So I'm going to click show code examples, scroll down, and this made this part show. So twig code examples, because I don't remember how to write this. Actually, I never remember. And I'm going to add an if statement. So my if statement is going to be if show title is true, then show this HTML. If it's not true, then don't show it. So let's copy this over here. Actually, we need to wrap the whole title. Let's move this into one line just to make everything organized, and put the end if at the end. And now the user can toggle this. So let's save. And again, we need to check. What can you do? When you're working with code, you need to check all the time. That's how it is. So over here, now it's not showing at all. Let's toggle this. And it's still not showing. So I did something wrong over here, obviously. Maybe it's called show menu title. This should be called show menu title. Show menu title. Let's change the name. And let's copy the name from here just so we can make sure that we didn't mess anything up. Jump back into the HTML. So this is going to be if show menu title is true, not your. True. True. Let's make that work. So looking good, looking good. Pretty sure it's going to work now. Reload. Reload. And let's see what we got. So I'm going to click on the widget to edit. And right now it's on show. If I turn it off, click again, it's gone. Awesome. Let's see that. Okay. Close button is still working, which is important. So next part is actually we can maybe, not sure if, let's make also the close button optionary. So we want to give maximum flexibility here. So maybe duplicate, show close button, populate this again, copy it, update, HTML. I'm gonna paste it over here because I'm gonna use it in one sec. And it's over here. So I'm gonna wrap it up. And let's bring this in. Awesome. Okay, we'll test this out later. I'm not going to test this out this second. So I think everything is pretty good. Let's jump into the CSS and see what else we can change. So the next part, what I'm going to change, okay, let's give some options for the close button over here. So I can see it's positioned by top and right, which makes sense. Let's give it, first of all, a size option for it. So I'm going to copy, and let's add a new style section. I'm going to call it close button. and add attribute. Gonna call this, gonna add it as a slider, close button size. Default value 20 makes sense for me. Let's make it responsive. Let's add the class. And what it needs to affect is the font size. Hope this one is going to work, not like the last one that we've done, but pretty sure it will. I think I just need to add the last one. It just delete it and add it again. Something to do with cache. So let's refresh over here. I always forget to save. Awesome, refresh. Let's see that it's working. So I'm gonna click on that and here it is. It's our close button and style close button. You can play around with the size. Awesome. So the next part is going to be distance. I'm gonna call it distance from top, close button, distance from top, just so users can place this wherever they want. The default value is 20. I think that's okay. And what this will change is the top value, so top. Awesome. Over here in the CSS, you can take that off. And now we have something a bit tricky actually, because I want there to be an option to toggle this from sticking to the right or sticking to the left. So thinking of how to do this actually. And I think what I'll do is I'll separate this into two values. So let's call this, let's add a drop-down field, first drop-down field. And we'll call this close button alignment. And we can align it to the right or to the left. Makes sense. I think that makes sense. And over here in the CSS, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to replace this right and give an option for users to choose if it's going to stick to the left or stick to the right. And now we need to make a value over here for this part. So this is the distance, horizontal distance, we're going to call it. So add attribute. It's going to be a number. And I'm going to call it close button horizontal distance. Makes sense. And the default value is going to be 20. This is by pixels. This is not going to be responsive. We don't need a CSS selector and we don't need a CSS value. So jump into the CSS and we're going to replace the 30 over here with the value. Next thing is going to be for the color. So let's just delete this from here and copy the selector again. And I'm going to call this, add a color attribute, close icon color. Awesome. Can leave that white. And this should affect the background color. Not the background color, but the color, because it's a font. It's using font awesome. And we can duplicate this, add a hover state over here, add the word hover over here, and replace the word copy. And maybe let's give this a different default value. Okay, set to go, refresh, reload, and let's see what we got. So looking pretty cool. I mean, this is awesome. Jump into style, close button, and you can see the hover state is working as well. And this is the distance. If I snap it to the left, This is closed, so we need to open it again. You can see it's now snapped to the left, and we can change its distance. So if we open it again, you can see that's moved a little bit. Let's move it back to the right. And what this makes me think is that I need to give an option for alignment for the menu title. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. And let's go for a drop down as well. Menu title alignment. And over here, what we'll do is add default value of left. The next value is going to be right. And the next one is going to be center. So giving my users maximum leverage over here, they can do whatever they want. Now inside of the CSS, what I'm going to do is over here, you see, that's why it's important that I didn't delete the selector. That was smart. I didn't do it on purpose, but it was smart. So over here, text align. Just gonna add static and replace it with dynamic. Let's check that it works. So click on the icon. Need to turn it back on first of all. And style, menu title. Here it is. Center that. Okay, awesome. You can see now it's centered, which looks pretty awesome, I must say. And I think then, okay, do we have an option for the, okay, we didn't do the background color for the menu, so that's really important. Here it is. I'm gonna delete that. And over here in side menu items, I'm going to add color. Actually, over here, I'm going to choose the background field because I want you to see how that looks. So, and I'm going to go for menu background. Now, what's nice about the menu background field is that this will give users an option also to add a gradient or something like that, and images and stuff like that. So it's pretty awesome. I want to show you how this looks. So we're taking maximum advantage of all the different attribute types. I'm not sure, do you think the menu needs a border? Yeah, we can add a border for the menu. So here we go, edit style. Here's the color. And now the user can change this to whatever he wants. And what's nice is now he can do a gradient or something like that. And if he jumps back over here, he can do an image. Not sure I have a proper image for this, but I don't know. This image is from our Halloween templates. Ooh, look, spooky. Let's add a position, repeat, maybe, I don't know, size cover. That's what I was looking for. And that's it, I think. Position, center left. Yeah, it's already center left. What am I doing? Okay, cool. Let's turn back the title. Let's click update to save. And everything is awesome. Cool, so next step is the items themselves. So to do the items themselves, what I think I'm going to do, let's find the selector first of all. So the selector is an A tag over here. And they have padding, they need typography, they need, what do they need? Background color. So let's copy the selector. Let's add a new section. I'm going to call it menu item. Awesome. And first of all, let's do padding. So menu item padding, and give this a default value of 20 pixels. Paste in the class, responsive settings on, and add attribute. Click update to save. And What's next? What's next? What's next? Let's go for color. Menu, item, background, color. And actually, I'm thinking of making this transparent. So I'm gonna go for, no, you know what? Let's not make it transparent because that can make, I'm not sure. Okay, let's make it transparent. So I just gave it a full alpha value over here and CSS selector, and this adjusts the background color. Now we need, of course, a hover color. So I'm gonna copy this, call it color hover, repopulate this over here. And this we can fill in with a certain color. Now need to push up the alpha, and I think we're set up. We just need to add hover state over here. So update, let's go into the CSS and delete the hover color over here. That's an option for the color and typography. So I'm just gonna copy this from here and typography, menu, item, typography, paste that inside, looking good. And color, menu, item, text color. Awesome. And last one, menu, item, text color on hover. Looking good. Let's test this. Refresh. Click on the menu. Okay, nice. So now we have a nice hover color. I think I'm going to add also a border color so people can put like sort of a line over here. Thinking if I need margin, maybe people want to push this in without making it so wide. Maybe they want to separate between the items. So it's starting to make sense for me. As we said, we're going to want maximum flexibility. So let's add margin. Menu, item, margin. Responsive field, default value is going to be 0 over here. And we have our class. The next part is going to be border. So over here, I think I am going to add a default value. So menu item border and default value, let's do solid. What I'm going to do over here is I'm going to give a semi-transparent white. Awesome. Let's make this a rounded value just so it won't look weird. 0, 0, 1, 0, and paste that in. Awesome. This is going to be so awesome. Refreshing to test. Click on that. And look how nice that is. So cool. So let's just test this out. So if I go over here, if I start changing the padding, nothing is happening. I probably didn't take it off from the HTML. Margin does work. So let's just, I want to make sure. Yeah, need to take it off from here. Also the color, so it's good that we check this and click update. Now this is for the sub menu. Next step is going to be doing the sub menu. So let's check this out again. Okay. Style, menu item. Now the padding does work. And what's nice about margin is that you can unlink this. And for example, you can give a margin just from a certain side. So right now it's from all sides. So if I change this to right 0, it goes all the way to the right, and I can change this to left like 40 pixels. And you know, it's just like a different kind of effect. Going to link this back, change it to 0. And the next part, I think, let's see, did I add typography? Okay, cool. There is typography over here. Awesome. Everything is looking really, really awesome. If you're seeing this guy's live, so just comment and ask questions if you want. I'm gonna check out the Facebook comments in a second. Not sure anyone's seeing it, but okay. So next part is going to be for menu sub items. So let's add a section, menu sub items. And actually we're going to want to add all of these. So not sure how I'm gonna do that, but let's start and see. So over here in the CSS, this is our selector. I'm gonna take off the padding from here, just so it doesn't override what we're doing. And the first one is going to be for padding. So menu sub item padding. Add this over here. This is going to be 20, and we want more. So 60, 20, 60. Responsive controls and add attributes. Add attribute, background color picker, menu sub item background. And I'm going to give this a color. Let's give it a dark color. Awesome. And what else? We need to add the value over here. And let's duplicate this, menu sub item background. Hover. Change this. Add a hover state. Make it darker. Update. Okay, so now the max depth is 1. I'm going to change it to 2. And you can see that this is a sub item right now. Awesome. So these are sub items under, maybe I need sub item. So, because this is level 3, but I'm not going to do it now because I think you get the point. And I'm not sure how long this was up to now. Let's check if there's some Facebook comments. We don't have any Facebook comments. We have some likes. Okay. Don't think anyone's seeing it right now. So that's cool. Let's see what else we have over here. What else am I going to do? I think that's it. I just want to check why this isn't working. So let's try to delete it and add it again. If you don't succeed once, try again. Toggle icon, inner size. Let's delete that. Let's add a new attribute, slider. Toggle icon size. Do we have that already? Okay. Let's move it up. Toggle icon size. It's a slider. The minimum value is 10. And it's affecting the font size. Let's get the class. So I'm not sure this exists still. It's open side menu. Yeah, it's this one. Okay. Attributes. Update. And refresh. Style. Yay, it's working. Okay, I'm not sure why it doesn't. Sometimes that happens to me. I didn't figure out. Maybe it's our bug. I think it might happen when you duplicate. I don't know. Anyway, it's working. So I think the last thing is that I want to give users an option to snap this to the left or to the right. Now, take in mind that the position of the icon itself is supposed to be in advanced positioning. You can choose this inline auto, and then you can position this, for example, fixed, snap it, distance it. So that's how users are supposed to use this in absolute or fixed positioning. And I'll make a video for this so people know how to use it. But for example, if they choose it to be snapped to the right, and right now it's behind, so maybe I want my menu to open on the left. So that's what option that I want to give. So I think it's the last option. And let's see where it is. I wanted also menu sub item typography. So let's add that if we're already here. Menu sub item typography. Okay, awesome. Look how fast that is. 2 seconds. So let's see where the snapping occurs. I think it's occurring over here. Okay, it's right 0. So we just need to give an option to snap this to the right or to the left. So let's make this general, and we'll do a drop down snap, I'm going to call it, or menu position. And the default is going to be right. I think that makes sense. And option for left. Pretty cool. Menu position, CSS, and we need to change this from right to left. Let's see. The only thing that I'm left annoyed with is that the width isn't really responsive. But I can't figure out, I'm not sure. The reason that wasn't working as a slider is because the class doesn't exist on the page. We're toggling the class in jQuery. So it's kind of tricky. I need to figure out how I'm gonna do that. Okay, awesome. So in style, menu position and left. Okay, pretty cool. So looking awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed this and video. And see you next time. Bye bye.